الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وأصحابه وسلم تسليما كثيرا وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله تبارك وتعالى وخير هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار وبعد. We want to apologize for the delay. We wanted to start our program a little bit before now, but mashallah, Allah is in control of all things. We plan to go for about an hour, no more than maybe an hour and 15 minutes. This is the first part of the seminar concerning the treatise of Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah, who was one of the classical scholars in Islam, one of the pillars from amongst the Muslim communities in his time. He is from amongst those that Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala had blessed him to really master the subject matters in the religion. Shaykh al-Islam Taymiyyah, he wrote a book which is 16 lines of poetry. 16 lines of poetry. And this 16 lines of poetry was his explanation to a question asked to him when he was in jail. As he was imprisoned somewhere around 7 different occasions during his life. He was imprisoned around 7 different times in his life, and it was not for a crime or doing something against the leadership or something against the people in the civilization, but rather he was in jail for calling to the truth of Islam, for clarifying the truth of the belief of the Muslims and the way that the Muslims should be in their life. So thus, the tyrannical leaders during his time, they imprisoned him in order to stop his message. But rather, Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala has allowed his message to not only be something that benefited many of his students that went on to become scholars in his lifetime, but rather something that has reached the world even up to our time now, as we are going to do the seminar, inshallah, on this great treatise. So inshallah, we'll talk a little bit about him, the author, known as Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah, rahimahullah ta'ala, and then we will begin the first portion of his treatise. His name is Ahmed. His official name that he was given is Ahmed, and he is Ibn Ahmed ibn Abdul Halim. So his father's name was Abdul Halim. And he is known by the name Ibn Taymiyyah, which is his grandmother's name, Ibn Taymiyyah. So his name is Ahmed ibn Abdul Halim, which is the son of Abdul Halim, and he's also known by the nickname Ibn Taymiyyah. The scholars, they mentioned that he was born in the 7th, the end of the 6th century, this end of the 6th century, and he died in 728 years after the migration to Al-Medina. 728 years after the migration to Al-Medina, which they say the difference between the Islamic calendar and the Gregorian calendar is somewhere around, I think they say 620 years or something like that. So you can imagine this was in the maybe if you talk about on our calendar, the Companions Tammayah. If you talk about his death, 728, then you add another maybe 620, and that's about 1300 and something. He died on the Gregorian calendar, as we're in 2016 today. So you can see the era that he came in, Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah, and the era that he died in, rahimahullah. He was born in the same city as the noble prophet, the father of Tawheed, Abraham, the city of Haran. And he, along with his family, migrated from that place to Damascus, which is the center of Syria during that time. And he took knowledge from many of the scholars during his time as a young boy. And from amongst them is his father. So he learned with his father, and he also learned from his grandfather. And Shaykh al-Islam Taymiyyah, as a young boy, he had the privilege to study all of the different madhab, meaning all of the different teachings of the most famous of the scholars from amongst the known scholars during that period of time of Abu Hanifa, and the period of Imam Malik, and the period of Imam Shafi'i, and the period of Imam Ahmad. He had the privilege to learn and study all of their different teachings and the different evidence that they used. At a young age, he was able and blessed to study with the likes of Imam An-Nawawi, which is known to us for his famous writing, the 40 Hadith. Imam An-Nawawi. And also known to us with his famous writing, Riyadh al-Salihin, Gardens of the Righteous, which is a famous book translated into English that every Muslim should have in their house and read to benefit from by the recommendations of the scholars of the past and present. Also, Imam An-Nawawi is from amongst those who wrote Rawdat al-Talibin, a famous book about the etiquettes of the students of knowledge. And Imam An-Nawawi is also the one who wrote the famous explanation of Sahih al-Muslim, explanation of Imam Muslim's collection. So this was the likes of the students that studied with Imam An-Nawawi, Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah. Now, where do we get the name Ibn Taymiyyah if his name is Ahmad ibn Abdul Halim? If he's the son of Abdul Halim, why did he become famous by the name Ibn Taymiyyah? It seems that this is his name. Really, his name is Ahmad, and he is Ibn Abdul Halim. So what is the reason he became known by Ibn Taymiyyah? Then the scholars, they say that this is common for people to have a name but also become famous by the name of their mother or their grandmother, as you have the example of the great scholar Ismail ibn Ulayya, which he's known by the name of his mother, Ulayya. And you also have the likes of Muhammad al-Hanafiya, which Muhammad al-Hanafiya, he's really Muhammad ibn Ali ibn Abi Talib. His father really is Ali. His name is Muhammad. His father's name was Ali, but he became known as Muhammad al-Hanafiya. And the scholars, they say the reason that he became known as Muhammad al-Hanafiyyah, which was his mother's name, al-Hanafiyyah, because it has to be distinguished. It has to be known who are the children from Fatima, which makes those children from the family tree of the Prophet, from the other children of Ali that are not from the family tree of the Prophet. Thus Muhammad ibn Ali, who was the son of Ali, just as Hassan and Hussein are the sons of Ali, he became known as Muhammad al-Hanafiyyah, which was his mother's name. So this is an example of scholars. They had the name of their mother or their grandmother, like in the case of Ibn Taymiyyah, to distinguish them, or they became known by the name of that mother or grandmother. Such Ibn Taymiyyah, he became known by the name of his grandmother, while he is the son of Abdul Halim, and he is known as Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah. What is the name Shaykh al-Islam indicative of? Then the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he mentioned that inna Allah sayub'athu rajulan ala kulli ratsmiyatil sana liyujaddidu dinahu aw kama qala. Well, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said what is meant in authentic narration, that Allah, he sends at the beginning of 100 years, every time 100 years pass, at the beginning of that mark, Allah will send a man that would renew, revitalize, and re-establish and teach the correctness of his religion. And this does not mean that only one man may be sent, as Allah may send one man in one area to renew the religion here, another man in another part of the world to renew the religion here, or another man who's known in another place to renew the religion there. But the point is that this is the meaning of Shaykh al-Islam, meaning that person, he has conquered the sciences, he has mastered the sciences of the religion, and that person had became that proficient in his knowledge and worship and in his actions that Allah chose him out of his wisdom to renew the religion, where the religion had become with the people and in the lands and in the teachings distorted or diminished to that which other than the true nature of what Allah had sent to his Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So we have a brief look at Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah, why he has the name Ibn Taymiyyah, who is Taymiyyah, and what era that he came in, and just a few of his teachers, that great scholar, Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah. The Shaykh, he came at a time where the Muslims were worshipping graves. Worshipping graves meaning calling on the deceased in that grave, which is prohibited to make invocation to anyone that's dead. They, at that time, the Muslims were engrossed in a lot of innovation, in belief, in methodology. So Shaykh al-Islam, in that time, was known for being approached by the leaders of certain areas, whether it be a judge, or whether it was the ruler, in order to clarify and write to the Muslims what they should believe and what they should be practicing. So this was one of the examples of this essay called Lamia Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah. And it's called Lamia from the word or the letter in Arabic Lam. As you have Alif, Ba, Ta, Tha, Jim, Ha, Kha, all the way till you get to the letter Lam. So just like in English we have L and M and N, but we have Lam in Arabic, makes the La, Li, Lu sound. La, Li, and Lu, which is equivalent to the L sound. So the reason this poetry, the reason this great essay was named Lamia, because every line that the Shaykh wrote as a reply to a question, he ended that line of poetry with a word that ended in Lam. He ended that line of poetry from the 16 lines of poetry with a word that ended in the letter Lam. So it became known as Lamia, meaning the poetry, then every sentence, the end of it ends with a lam. And you have other examples such as the Nuniyah, from the letter Noon. Noon in the Arabic language, like the N sound, Nani Nu. Nuniyah means that someone wrote a line of poetry, and that poetry, every line ends in a Noon, such as the Nuniyah of Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyah, where he wrote about the belief, and every end of the poetry ended in Noon. You have the Nuniyah of Imam al-Qattan, Imam Mada al-Qattani, Naam al-Qattani, and you have you also have Mimumiyah, that poetry that ends every letter or every sentence in that poetry, the last letter is the meme. So this was a way that the scholars used to write, either in regular form, as we write books, or in a poetic style. And the Lamiyah is in a poetic style, that was Shaykh al-Islam Tammayah he wrote. So it is the belief that in that poetry, each line ends with the letter lam. If somebody could try to cater or give the children some snacks or toys so they could relax, inshallah, so the people can hear, inshallah. Barakallahu feekum. Now, so this is an overview of why this poetry is called Lamiyah, who was written by Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah, and who he is in his era in brief. And wallahi, this is not given justice, as it will take probably a series of talks to talk about just the life of Ibn Taymiyyah, but we're just scratching the surface, if we can say that, for the sake of time. Now, why did he write this poetry? Why did he write the 16 lines of poetry? And what is the poetry about? As he was in prison, during his last imprisonment, which the scholars say was in the year of 727 years after the migration from Mecca to Medina, one of the prison guards approached him and he asked him, what do you believe? What is your way? What is your madhab? What is your aqidah? So here, Shaykh Islam Taymiyyah replied to him, and this is the reason the poetry exists. It was a reply to the prison guard asking him, what do you believe in general? What is your way of dealing and your way of interaction, handling things in general, which is called madhab, or you can say minhaj. So the word minhaj in Arabic, minhaj, or as we say madhab, that means a person's general way that they handle things. And he asked him, what is your aqidah? And what do you believe? Which is the thing that a person ties to his or her heart. So Shaykh Islam Taymiyyah didn't get offended to say, why are you asking me? I'm Shaykh Islam Taymiyyah. Who are you to question me? Are you testing me? No. He answered him in 16 eloquent, poetic lines of poetry that are linked to evidence from the book of Allah and the Sunnah of His Messenger and the way of the Sahaba sallallahu alaihi wasallam radiyallahu ta'ala anhum ajma'in. Some of the people, they think that terms such as manhaj or madhab or even aqidah, they are innovation. Some people of this time that we live in now, they will tell you that the word tawheed and the concept that tawheed is of this many types or that many types, this is an innovation in the religion, and they reject it. But Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, He mentioned in the Quran and in the Sunnah all of these things. From amongst it, Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala mentioned in Surah Al-Ma'idah, وَلِكُلٍّ جَعَلْنَا مِنْكُمْ شِرْعًا وَمِنْهَاجًا. And for all of the nations, Allah said, we have made for you a legislation. Shir'an, legislation, وَمِنْهَاجًا, and a way, a methodology. So you have minhaj in the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And also as it relates to the issue of Tawheed, Allah tabarak wa ta'ala, He mentioned, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ, that I have not created the jinn kind and the mankind except that they may reverence me and worship me, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam sent Mu'adh to Yemen, one of the narrations, he said about the people, he said, until they yuwahidun Allah azza wa jal, yuwahidu. And from this word is tawheed. Yuwahidu, from this word, tawheed. Or like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Ikhlas, قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ. Allah also says, يعني huwa wahidu qahar, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the first, and He also mentioned in Surah Al-Ikhlas that He is alone, singled out. So this is inclusive in the meaning, the word tawheed. As the Prophet ﷺ mentioned, this word yuwahidu Allah azza wa jal, yuwahidu Allah azza wa jal, that they make Allah alone in every way, those people that take the shahada. Also the word aqidah, and tabarak wa ta'ala mentioned the word yani aqid in Surah Al-Falaq, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, min sharrin nafathati fil uqad, yani uqad, the knot that's tied around the person with the spell on the knot, uqad. Tabarak wa ta'ala, He also mentioned in His noble book, لا يؤاخذكم الله باللغو في أيمانكم ولكن يؤاخذكم بما عقدتم إيمان. نعم، بما عقدتم الإيمان الأيمان، بما عقدتم الأيمان. Where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the meaning in English, He said, Allah will not hold you accountable for your oath. لا يؤاخذكم الله باللغو. When you make some statement, you vow to do something, Allah won't hold you accountable for that saying, except Allah said, وَلَكِنْ يُؤَاخِذُكُمْ بِمَا عَقَدْتُمْ أَيْمَانٍ. But Allah will hold you accountable for what you say, for the vows that you make, for the oaths that you say out of your tongue, that what you say yani on your tongue, that really you believe in your heart. So sometimes we say stuff just plain. We don't mean like that thing wholeheartedly. But other times we say stuff, we mean it, but we don't keep to those promises. Then this Allah described as yani aqadtum, from the word aqada, which is from that word aqada, yani al-aqidah is another derivative of that word. And the scholars, they mentioned that aqidah is something that everyone must have. He must yani يتقد شيء إما من الخيرات أو إما من الشرات، إما من يعني خير إما من شر. That the person must hold something true. This is the meaning of aqidah. رَطْبَ شَيْء فِي قَلْبِ, that you tie something to your heart, you fasten something to your heart in belief, in feeling, in emotion, a credence, something that you hold to be true. Whether that thing is false or that thing is true, everyone has something in their heart that they hold close to them in their heart. And this word in Arabic is al-aqidah. So the man, he asked Ibn Taymiyyah, yani, what is your madhab? What is your yani way of dealing with things? And what is your aqidah? So thus, Ibn Taymiyyah, he replied to him, which we understand, that which we understand is the Lamiyah, the poetry of Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah. The poetry that he wrote of the aqidah of Ahlul Sunnati wal Jama'ah. Those people that adhere to the Sunnah and they cling to the Jama'ah, meaning the companions. Before we get into the first line of poetry, we must make sure that we dispel some of the disclaimers, some of the misconceptions, as they say in Arabic, shubuhat, things that people have as misconceptions. And that is, when you hear the aqidah of Ibn Taymiyyah, or the aqidah of Imam al-Lalikali, or the aqidah of Ahmad ibn Hanbal, or the aqidah of Barakallahu Fikum, any of the A'imma, the scholars, the leaders of the past, it doesn't mean that what they're saying is from their own self. It doesn't mean that he gathered something from what he knows of his own understanding or something that he made up. This is not the meaning. But rather, as we mentioned at the beginning, that Allah sends men from the people that He deems and makes inheritors of the Prophet, the scholars that take from the Prophets, and they come back and they yujaddidu deen Allah. They come back and they revitalize, they bring back to life, they renew the teachings of the deen of Allah. So when we say the aqidah of Ibn Taymiyyah, it doesn't mean this is from him. No, this means that it goes back to the book of Allah, that it has evidence from Allah's book, and that no one would disagree about that when they listen to the teachings of Ibn Taymiyyah, that his teachings was from the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. His teaching was from the Sunnah of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. His teachings were in line with that from the book of Allah, the Sunnah of His Messenger, and the way of the companions. So much so that the adversaries, those that were the opponents, those from the deviant groups that he used to talk about, if they wanted to really know about their own groups, if they were mistaken or if they were right, they would go and look into the writings of Ibn Taymiyyah, because they know he was a man who only spoke the truth, and he did not lie just because people had erred or made mistakes. And this we find many of the Salaf saying, the likes of these statements, that it will be more befitting for a person to follow something of error than to lie upon a person because that person has error. Meaning, if a person is led astray, this is not a sin on him like the one who wants to invent lies upon a person because he erred. Because he erred in error. Now, Tabarak wa Ta'ala mentioned this. He mentioned this in the Quran when he says, and do not allow a person's wrong. Do not allow a person's wrong to cause you to transgress. Do not allow a person's wrong that he does to cause you to go overboard. Tabarak wa Ta'ala said, "I'dilu huwa aqrabu lit-taqwa." But rather be just. Be just, be fair, because this is closer to a person having piety. That you don't go overboard with a person because of his wrong, but yet you be just. So Shaykh Islam Taymiyyah, although the people that he would clarify about their mistakes and the deviant beliefs that they had, he would clarify those things with evidence. He wouldn't go overboard. He wouldn't make up stuff, lie on them, and be unjust and slander them. No, he will only say that which was either for or against them. As he mentioned that the people of the Sunnah, they mentioned that which is lahum alayhim. They mentioned that which is in line with what they said is true, and they mentioned that which is against what they say or do a falsehood. If something is against or for them, the people of the Sunnah, they mentioned that. And of course, if it's against you, then when you find out that it's in opposition to what you said or did, you make repentance, you leave the falsehood, and you do what's right. But he mentioned the people of bid'ah, they only mention what supports them. They only mention what's for them, in line with them, and not what's against them. So this is a very important point when we mention the aqidah of Shaykh Islam Taymiyyah. Not that he came with something min tilka nafsih, something from his own self, but rather his aqidah means that he brought the belief, the aqidah that is from the book of Allah, the Sunnah of His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The beginning of the poem, it goes, Ya sa'ili an madhhabi wa aqidati, ruziqa al-huda man lil-hidayati an yas'alu, isma kalami muhaqqaqin fi qawlihi, لا ينثني عنه ولا يتبدل حب الصحابة كلهم لمذهب ومقدر لقرباء بها أتوسل. The first part that we just mentioned, يا سائلي عن مذهبي وعقيدتي, as if he's saying to the one who asked him, what do you believe, what's your madhab and what's your aqidah? He's replying to him by saying, يا سائلي, O the one who asked me, عن مذهبي, concerning my madhab, وعقيدتي. And now he's going to reply. يا سائلي shows that it's permissible for someone to question you about that which you have of religion. People shouldn't be offended. Why is somebody questioning me? Who is he to ask me? No. Because he didn't take that posture when the man asked him, what do you believe about these issues in general and what do you believe in specific? Madhab, the ulama, the scholars, they mention that this is general. It's general as opposed to aqidah. Aqidah يعني ماذا أخص من المذهب والمذهب أعام من العقيدة. That your methodology, your madhab, your minhaj is more general and is broader than aqidah, that which you believe in your heart. For example, the way that you deal with your neighbors, this is considered madhab or minhaj, methodology. How the Prophet was with his neighbors, whether they were Muslim or non-Muslim. This falls under madhab or minhaj, which we will say methodology. The way that you apply and the way that you deal with something. The issue of bay' or shara', buying and trading. You can go to any of the books and they have these chapters in them. The chapter buying and trading. This is the issue of madhab or minhaj, methodology, how you buy and trade. What's deceptive in trading, what's not deceptive in trading, how the conditions of buying and selling must be honored and what they are, and so forth. How to deal between husbands and wife and children. This falls under madhab or manhaj or that which is methodology. So that's general. It's more broader than the issue of al-aqid, al-i'tiqad. I'tiqad is more specific. When you talk about Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala, and the issues connected to Allah, the issues pertaining to His book, the issues pertaining to His messenger. And so Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, He said in this book, in His noble book, فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلِ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Ask the people of knowledge if you don't know. And in this case, because the people were so confused, because the people of innovation were spreading so much innovation, some of the people really wanted to know, what is the proper belief? What do you have to say? What do you believe? Because they respected Ibn Taymiyyah. Although the people imprisoned him because they were against his propagation, not everybody was against him. So this prison guard, like we would say the CO, or the guy at the prison, he asked him, what is your madhab and aqidah? So Ibn Taymiyyah, he answered, he said, Ya sa'ali an madhabi wa aqidati. The one who asked me about my general way of doing things and my particular way of belief. Ruziqa al-huda man lil hidayati and yas'alu. This, the scholars say, is a dua. He actually made a supplication for the man who asked him, what do you believe and what's your methodology? The meaning of this statement, the second part of the poetry, Ruziqa al-huda, here, this means, the scholars say, may Allah give you what you seek if you're sincere in what you asked. Ruziqa, it's from the word rizq, to obtain, to inherit, to be enriched. So he said, Ruziqa al-huda. He didn't say Ruziqa huda, he said Ruziqa al-huda, with the alif lam in the Arabic language, al-huda. Meaning, everything that you ask, may Allah give you that of guidance and give you that of understanding and give you that of application if you were sincere in asking. Ruziq al-huda man lil hidayati an yas'alu. Showing that one of the ways to obtain risk, provision, is by seeking knowledge. Rather, Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah, he mentioned himself, الرزق ينقسم إلى القسمين, that provision is of two types. He mentioned one of them halalun, the halal provisions. One of them haramun, the prohibited provisions. And then he said, وَكُلَّ مَا يَنْفَعُ الْبَدَنِ فَهُوَ risk. Everything that the body benefits from, you can put it under the title of risk, provision. So we shouldn't think narrow-minded. The risk is just, I go to work, I make $500, this is my risk. I have some wheat bread and some butter and some sandwich spread, this is my risk. I have some inventory to sell, this is my risk. No. From amongst risk is anything that your body benefits from. Your clothing, your house, your car, and of course, أَعْظَمْ مِنْهَا الْإِلْمُ النَّافِعُ. And from the most greatest sources of what the body benefits from is the religious knowledge. And that's what Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah, he said, رُزِقَ الْهُدَى مَنْ لِلْهِدَايَةِ أَنْ يَسْأَلُوا. May the one who asks sincerely, may Allah give him ruziqah, meaning enrich him in every way from that question. And we understand, subhanAllah, look, because that man asked that question to Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah on that day, we're benefiting from that right now. Do you realize that? This is part of the manifestations of his dua and the second line of poetry for the man who asks. Look, he gets a benefit, that man. Just because we're benefiting from it, he gets a benefit. And if he accepted the religion, he was a Muslim, and he accepted wholeheartedly, everyone that learns it and benefits, he gets more than that one benefit. As the Prophet said, whoever starts a good way and people follow him, he will get a reward for that initial starting of that good thing. Look, years later we're studying this answer to this question. Because Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah, Barakallahu Fikum, he goes on and he says, اسمع كلام محقق في قوله اسمع كلام محقق في قوله اسمع. Some of the brothers, they try to say this word in Arabic. They say ishmali. Ishmali. No, it's isma'a. Not ish, it's isma'a. Isma'a. And if you add me, because isma is listen. Like you say, listen. If you want to say listen to me, you say isma'ali. Isma'ali. Not ishmali. The brothers learned this. And I think like some brothers taught this in the prison and other than that, and it's carried on. As one brother said that to me today, he said Ishmali, because somebody called on the phone and we were talking. It's Isma'ali. Isma'ali. Naam. So here it said Isma kalama muhaqqaqin fi qawlihi. Isma, the scholars, they make distinction. The word Isma here doesn't merely mean listen with the ears. Because in Arabic, and this is why we encourage the brothers, they have to sit down and learn the Arabic language. This is the only way you're going to get these benefits, these tastes like this. The sisters as well, the children as well, because it makes a big difference. Here the Shaykh said, Isma, kalamu muhaqqaqin fi qawlihi. Isma, listen. The scholar said here, Isma, is not the literal listening with the ears. Because you have Isma and you have Istima'a. Istima'a with extra letters. So Isma is listen. But Istima'a is like we say, he's really trying to hear what's going on. So he's not distracted by what's around him, what's in front of him. He's really keen in. Like we say, listening attentively with the heart. So here when Shaykh al-Islam Taymiyyah said, Isma, kalama, listen to the speech, muhaqqaqin, that's precise, fi qawlihi, and the saying of the one who you asked, what is your madhab, what is your aqidah? This is not Ibn Taymiyyah being stuck on himself. Like, listen to me because I'm about to drop this thing on you, man. I know what I'm talking about. It's not like that. This is a type of assurance and confidence in his speech that
I am not going to lead you astray. I'm telling you straight from what Allah said in His book and the Messenger. And the scholar said, it's many examples that you can do this in order to assure the one who's listening that you're confident that what you're on, that what you're about to present is right. And not that you're bigging yourself up. As Allah said, وَلَا تَزَكُّوا أَنفُسِكُمْ. Do not praise or sanctify yourself. Don't make yourself the man or, I'm the one. No. But here when He said, إِسْمَعْ كَلَامَ مُحَقَّقًا فِي قَوْلِهِ, He's telling him this because the Muslims had so much doubt amongst them. He wants him to understand, I'm about to tell you something that really, if you pay attention with the ears and the heart, you'll be guided because I know that I'm precise. I've wrote this so many times. I've memorized it so much. I've lived this my whole life. There's no way when I'm going to tell you about what I believe and my way is wrong. And you have examples from the Prophet ﷺ himself when he said to the Ubay ibn Ka'b, who used to write down for the Prophet during his time his sayings. He told him, he said, write down everything that you hear from my mouth. Uktub kullu ma yani mada kharaja min hada, or kama qala. He said, write down everything that comes from this. And he pointed to his mouth. He said, because I only say that which is the truth. So does anyone think the Prophet ﷺ was stuck on himself or boasting? No. He's making sure the companions understand he's not telling him or telling them anything from themselves or from himself, from human logical words. This is straight from Allah. As during his time, one of the misconceptions, they said Muhammad is crazy. He was in the cave and he comes down saying poetry from old Arab tales. Rather, he was in the cave and the jinns, the shayateen went to him and he's possessed and he's a madman like this. So in order to dispel the misconceptions amongst the companions, he said this to them as they were writing. You also have the companions doing the same thing. Like the statement of Abu Bakr Siddiq, he said, لَأَشْبَعَكُمْ ماذا بِصَلَاةِ رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. He said, indeed, he said, والله ماذا والله لأشبعكم بصلاة رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. كما قال. In the authentic narration, he said, I swear by Allah. And they didn't use swearing to convince people. They only use swearing to emphasize how important what they're going to say is. And not like us. You swear 15 times to make a person convinced that you're telling the truth and you're the biggest liar on the face of the earth. No, he didn't use wallahi like that. He said, wallahi, I swear, emphasizing, I'm going to show you, I'm going to exemplify to you the prayer of the Prophet. And then he prayed. Now, so, and this was Abu Hurairah, my fault, not Abu Bakr. Abu Hurairah said this, authentic hadith. You have other companions making statements like this. And this is the way Ibn Taymiyyah was doing when he said, Isma kalama muhaqqaqan fi qawlihi. Listen to the speech of the one who's muhaqqaq. Muhaqqaq means he has, as we say, put the nail in the wood. He sealed it. He has the thing down. There's no one when he presents the argument, you're going to find any falsehood. Then he said, لا ينثني عنه ولا يتبدل. I will never ينصرف ما أنصرف عنه. I will never turn back from this way. ولا أتبدل. Neither will I substitute it. As all of those groups during that time, they either turned away or they substituted. Subhanallah. Now, after that he says, حب الصحابة كلهم لمذهب ومقدر حب الصحابة لكلهم لمذهب ومودة للقربى بها أتوسل. He said, and the companions, he's going on to talk about now the belief in detail. حب الصحابة كلهم لمذهب. All of the companions, we love them because of their madhab. What did we say madhab was again? Their way. What was the way of the companions? the way of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is what Allah He said when He said, "Kul hadi sabili ad'u ila Allah ala basira, ana wa man ittaba'ani." Allah said, "Say to them, O Muhammad, Kul hadi sabili ad'u ila Allah." He said, "Say to them, Muhammad, this way that I'm following, this way of mine, I'm calling you to it from the way of Allah. Ala basira." Basira here means clear proofs. So Prophet ﷺ is being told by Allah, tell the people, I'm preaching to you, I'm calling to you my way to follow that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent to me with basira. Ana wa man ittaba'ani. Me and those who follow me. Who was following the Prophet? The companions. The companions of the Messenger of Allah. So here when he said, حُبُّ الصَّحَابَ لِكُلِّهِمْ لِمَذْهَبٌ, their way is to follow the book of Allah and the way of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's why the Prophet sallallahu he said, when it was the issue of dying and people needing to follow something after him, he said, مَا أَنَا عَلَيْهِ يَوْمْ وَأَصْحَابِهِ. If you follow what I'm on today when I die, or that which you find my companions on, then you will be saved from the trials of deviation. You will be from those who will not go and burn in hell forever. وَالنَّبِيُّ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ قَالَ مَنْ يَعِشْ مِنْكُم مِّن بَعْدِي فَسَيَرَى اخْتِلَافًا كَثِيرًا. Whoever lives after me is going to see a lot of arguing, fighting, debating. Then he said, عَلَيْكُمْ بِالسُّنَّةِ. So follow. Alaykum here means you have to. Alaykum, upon you all. Alaykum, it's an obligation. Alaykum, you must follow the sunnah. Sunnati meant his sunnah, his way, his tariqah, his methodology, his madhab. Was sunnati khulafa. Sunnati khulafa. Abu Bakr, Umaru, Uthmanu, wa Aliyu. So this is why Ibn Taymiyyah said, حُبُّ الصَّحَابَةِ يعني ماذا؟ حُبُّ الصَّحَابَةِ كُلِّهِمْ لِمَذْهَبٌ, because of their way. When you talk about Sahaba, barakallahu fikum, the scholars that give definition to what is a Sahaba. Who can tell me what is a Sahaba? It's a companion that was with the Prophet. Yeah. MashaAllah, barakallahu fikum. Zid, give me more. La yukaffi, that's not sufficient. لأن Abi Talib كان مع النبي. Because Uncle Abi Talib was with the Prophet, was he not?
One who learned the deen of Islam while the Prophet was living amongst them.
One who learned the deen of Islam while the Prophet was amongst them. طيب. ألم يكن من اليهودية يعني عالم دينهم عالم دين الإسلام من النبي في المدينة? Was it not Jews who learned the religion from the Prophet in Medina? لا يكفي, that's not enough. Zid, give me more. Huh? They inherited? MashaAllah, they inherited. Barakallahu fikum. Yeah, and the scholars, they say, الذين لقيته عليه الصلاة والسلام. Number one, the ones they met the Prophet. They met him. يؤمن به. They believed in him. Two. ومات على الإسلام. And they died upon Islam. يعني لقيته عليه الصلاة والسلام. They met the Prophet. يؤمن به. They believed in him. ومات على الإسلام. And they died upon Islam. So the first one, لقيته. They met the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. يؤمن به, they believed in him. And the last one, مات على الإسلام, they died upon Islam. So you have certain people, they're not inclusive in that statement. Like for example, we mentioned again, لقيته, someone met him. So Abi Talib met the Prophet. Really protected him from the harm of the Quraysh in Mecca until he died. But did he believe in the Prophet? The Prophet's uncle, did he believe in the Prophet?
No.
No. What's the proof he didn't believe?
He was not taking
He wouldn't take shahad on his deathbed. Barakallahu fikum. He wouldn't take shahad on his deathbed. Nah, he died upon shirk. Allah sent down ayah because of that. إِنَّكَ لَا تَحْدِي مَنْ أَحْبَبْتَ وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ يَهْدِي مَنْ يَشَاءُ. Naam, it is not you that guides whom you love. Meaning, you can show somebody the way, but for them to accept it, that's up to Allah. So when the people say Allah makes Muslims, that means Allah is the one that will make that Islam penetrate their heart where they would openly announce it and believe in it. That's not us. We just convey and tell and show. The end result is in the hands of Allah. So Abi Talib laqaytuhu. Abi Talib is in the category he met the Prophet. But he's not to be considered companion because he did not believe in him. Lam yuhman bihi. Did not believe in the Prophet. He died on the deathbed with the belief of those people from the Quraysh. Tayyib. What about the Jews? The same thing in Medina. They met the Prophet. In fact, they were some of the ones that said, he's from amongst your messenger according to our book. This one is the one we were waiting for. In Medina. But they didn't believe in the Prophet ﷺ. Tayyib. What about the one, he met the Prophet, he believed in him, but he apostated. Can this one be considered a companion? He met the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He believed in him as the messenger, but he left Islam. Can this one be considered companion? Mala? Qala la. Mad dalil. What's your dalil?
You're saying he apostated, that means upon his death, he did not believe in the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He didn't die upon the Islam, the deen.
Tayyib. He said, no, because the condition is he must believe in the Prophet and die upon Islam. You have at least two people, bima a'lam, that I know of. Some of the scholars say what you just said. They met the Prophet, they believed in him, and then they left Islam. But then they came back to Islam. The minority say these are not considered companions. They will be considered tabi'een. They will be considered tabi'een because they met the Prophet, accepted Islam, but they revolted from Islam, and then the Prophet died. Then they later came back to Islam after he died. Al-Jamhur ulama, the masses of the scholars. Al-Jamhur means the masses. Al-Ulama of scholars say they are to be considered companions because they came back to Islam. Although they apostated before the Prophet died, and they came back to Islam after he died, in the books of men, in the books of Rijal, in the books of Hadith, these are considered still companions because it's as if they, they came back to Islam while the Prophet was alive. Let me correct that. They left Islam and they came back to Islam while the Prophet was alive. They said it's as if they met the Prophet twice and they accepted Islam twice, so how could they not be considered from amongst the companions? While the minority say the fact that they left Islam, they're not to be considered companions, they are demoted to tabi'in, second generation. So, the truth in this affair, if a person accepted Islam, they met the Prophet, they believed in him, and they accepted Islam, and they left Islam, but then they came back during his time, he was alive, then they are still considered companions, although they left Islam and they came back. Nah, although they left Islam and they came back during his time, they were considered still companions because they still fell in the category of meeting him, believing in him, and although they left, they came back while he was alive, then they are to be considered companions. Now, there are at least two people that met the Prophet. They met the Prophet. They believed in him, and they died upon Islam, but they're not considered companions. They met the Prophet, they believed in him, and they died upon Islam, but they are not considered companions. Who can tell me? What was on the battlefield?
He died and he had the booty. And the prophet, they went, and the prophet was picking out who was martyr or shaheed. And he didn't say something with one brother. And they said that was the battlefield of Rasulullah. And Rasulullah didn't say nothing. I think he turned him over, he had the booty. And I think the Rasulullah explained to his companions that he was not here for Islam. He didn't die on the battlefield, he died for the people. But that's one I can say, I don't know. The one who I know that the Prophet spoke about on them terms. Because he didn't denounce it with his mouth.
Tayyip, one of the answers the brother gives, a person that fought and died, and after he was killed, he was turned over, and he had some of the spoils of war, like he was stealing, or that he wanted. That is his main goal. As the Prophet ﷺ said, he did not fight for the sake of Allah, he fought for the issue of dunya. Tayyip. This is when you talk about the munafiqeen, and Allah knows best, those who are doing something for worldly gain or to be seen, you can never call them companions. Just like you can never call a companion a munafiq or innovator. And you can never call a tabi'een an innovator or a munafiq. So we're not talking about those people who their intention in their chest, they were from the munafiqeen, or they were doing something to show off, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will punish them in the hereafter. No. Because those people, they can't even be considered Muslim, because they're doing an act of worship for other than Allah. We mean that they met the Prophet, barakallahu fikum, may Allah bless you. They believed in him, and they died with Islam. They didn't die with Islam, and they didn't die from the munafiqeen, or die like this in this hadith. There are two issues. One, the two companions, the scholars, they mentioned that they met the Prophet, they believed in him, they accepted Islam, but how could they not be companions? They said because they met the Prophet. Meeting the Prophet includes yarohu, that you see him. This is one of the meanings of meeting the Prophet, that you see him. So they seen the Prophet after he had died. They accepted Islam. They believed in the Prophet, but they only seen him, he had died already. So thus, because he had died, which you have to meet him, see him alive, this is the clause in meeting him, then they are considered, although they were in his generation, to be tabi'een. Because you have to meet him while he's alive. This is the clause. Now, barakallahu fikum. So this is some of the benefits around Sahaba. Shaykh Islam Tammayah said, Hubbu Sahaba kullihim limadhabun. Because of their way, the way that Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala praised them, and He mentioned the Sabiquna awwalun min al-muhajirin wal ansar lin tabawuhum bil ihsan that the early Muslims, the first ones, the foremost of them that made the migration from Mecca to Medina, and those that aided them and followed them. Allah is pleased with them, they were pleased with Allah as their Lord. So they obeyed Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this also shows the step of the Prophet when he said, La tusub ashabi. Do not abuse my companions. Do not revile them. So thus, like Sheikh Muqbali mentioned when he was talking about this issue, people shouldn't busy themselves with Muawiyah and this and that, and the things that happen between the Sahaba, mashakal and fighting, and because Allah already knew this was going to take place. This is not unknown news to Allah, something that caught Allah off surprise. Allah, He knew this, subhanallah. This is blaspheming, disbelief to think Allah, He didn't know something happened and then, He praised them, but look at this. No, this does not demise or degrade them. because they are the best people simply because they were in the time of the messenger. Just for being in his time, they were the best people. And the Prophet he said, "Khairun nas qarni," the best people of my generation. So just because they were with the messenger, just because they lived in his time, by default they were the best people. Although they still had human problems and things because of being in environments and things, people coming and bringing ideology and things changing and more people come to the religion, the more numbers, the more problems, the more ideologies, the more wealth, the more whispers from the shaitan, doesn't demote them from who they are. وَمَوَدَّةُ لِلْقُرْبَى بِهَا أَتَوَسَّلُوا. Here he said, وَمَوَدَّةُ. Mawaddatun is love. لِلْقُرْبَى. Who is Qurba in this part of the poetry? Means Ahlul Bayt. Ahlul Bayt al-Nabuwah. The people that are from the Prophet's lineage. And we're not talking about the Shia who hijacked the name Ahlul Bayt. But they cursed Jibreel. وَالْعَيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. They denied the Quran that was sent to Muhammad. A'udhu billah. They reject the clearance of our mother Aisha radiyallahu ta'ala anha. Allah cleared her in the Quran. While she cried for so many days, they said they thought her lungs and heart was going to bust. This is tabi'iyah. When someone slander you or attack you, try to tear you down, it may make you cry. Doesn't mean that you're guilty. Crying is not a hujjah. Buka laysa min al-adillah. Wailing is not a hujjah that you did it. Nah. Look at this. But Allah, He cleared her. Allah Azza wa Jal cleared our mother Aisha radiyallahu ta'ala anha. So whoever says after that, she is amra'atun baghiyah, she is a lewd woman, or that she is a fornicator, or that she's an adulteress, or that she's a whore, or that she's loose. Many of the scholars of the companions, many of the scholars of the tabi'een, including the four great imams, Abu Hanifa, wa Imam Malik, wa Imam Shafi, wa Ahmadu, they're all in agreement that that person leaves Islam. Because he's rejecting the verse of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. Hada kufr juhud. This is rejecting something from the book of Allah. Kufr takdeeb. Rejecting something where it's an obligation that you believe that Aisha is innocent. Obligation to believe that Allah freed her. And it's an obligation for you not to say other than that. And if you do this kufr takdeeb, you're denying the truth. You deny the truth of the reality that Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala sent down. So now, like these people who hijack Ahlul Bayt all over the internet, slandering the Sahaba, disbelieving in the book of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, not like those people. Mahabbatu mada wa mawaddatu lil qurba. Yani qurba means the companions? No, it means those people that are related to the Prophet ﷺ, paternally and maternally, through marriage and as well as the bloodline. As Sheikh Muqbali mentioned, even the wives of the Prophet, they ought to be considered from Ahlul Bayt. They ought to be considered from the family of the Prophet for marriage. As Allah mentioned about this in Surah Ahzab, He said, إِنَّمَا يُرِيدُ اللَّهِ. Allah, He only wants to clean Ahlul Bayt. Now, He only wants to clean the people from the Prophet's household. And then He mentioned min rijis. From rijis means any impurity in faith, any impurity in belief, any impurity of morals and character, any type of impurities, physically or mentally or other than that. Prior to that, Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala was talking about the women. وَقَرْنِ فِي بُيُوتِكُنَّ وَلَا تَبَرَّجْ الْجَاهِلِيَّةِ الْأُولَى. And stay in your houses, don't come out without necessity, displaying yourself like the women before Islam. So some people try to say the second part of this ayat, the latter part, is not talking about the wives, because Allah switched to talking about the males, where He was clearly talking about females when He said them and the females grammar or species in the language. Sheikh Muqbil, he said concerning this, there is a rule in the understanding of Quran. There is a rule in the Arabic language. Whenever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, for example, وَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَآتِ الزَّكَاةِ. Establish the salah and pay the zakat, even though he's talking to the dhukur, he's talking in the male gender of the Arabic language, yushmal al-nisa, yushmal al-untha. It includes the females, it includes the women. Because the Prophet ﷺ said, An-nisa shaqiq al-rijal. The women are the brothers of the men. Meaning what applies to the man is equal for the woman. Except something is explicitly made as an exception. So here when Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala mentions Ahlul Bayt, and he's talking about those who are the males, it includes the women from those women, the wives of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam radiyallahu ta'ala anhum jami'an. May Allah be pleased with all of them. So Ibn Taymiyyah is making this clear. وَمُوَدَّةٌ وَمُوَدَّةٌ لِلْقُرْبَى بِهَا أَتَوَسَّلُوا. بِهَا أَتَوَسَّلُوا meaning loving the companions firstly, all of them, because of their way. And then those from the house of the Prophet, like Abdullah ibn Abbas, directly connected to the Prophet. وَكَذَلِكَ مَاذَا Hassan wal-Hussein, the grandsons of the Prophet. وَكَذَلِكَ the great-grandchildren of the Prophet, through the lineage of Hassan Hussein. وَكَذَلِكَ الْمَهْدِي, the Mahdi that will come later, he's directly from the descendants of Fatima and the likes. Muhammad Bakr, which is the grandson of the Prophet. Zayd Abidin, Naam, yani the great grandson of the Prophet. All of these children from the descendants of the Prophet, they are to be loved by Ahlul Sunnah. But the Shia, they lie and say, we don't love Ahlul Bayt and revile them and we're this and that, so they attack us. No, Ahlul Sunnah. The people follow the Prophet's Sunnah. The people love the companions. You have to love the righteous from the people from the Prophet's lineage. And there's another point. Even if a person be from his bloodline, if he be Muqtada, innovator, he be Sufi, he be Shia, he be Tabliki, he be Qadiriyah, he be Batiniyah, any of the groups, then he cannot take the name Ahlul Bayt. Because being from the Prophet's household includes that you are upright, that you follow his way, Maslak al-Nabi, that your way is the way of the Prophet. And Shaykh Muqbali explained this when he was talking about the virtues of Ahlul Bayt al-Nabuwah, the virtues of the people from the Prophet's lineage, paternal or maternal. Shaykh Islam Taymiyyah is making the point, وَمَوَدَّةُ لِلْقُرْبَى بِهَا تَوَسَّلُوا وَسِيلَ إِلَى اللَّهِ. He uses it as a way to get close to Allah. He deems to love the people from the Prophet's house, be it blood or maternal, a way to draw close to Allah. It's ibadah. Tawassalu, to gain the paradise of Allah. Now, and then we'll take this last part and we'll stop for the segment. The Shaykh, he goes on and he says, وَلِكُلِّهِمْ مُقَدِّرٌ عَلَى وَفَضَائِلُ. And one transcription, as you have to remember, these books reached us, they didn't have a printing press. They didn't have ink and paper companies like we mass produce books today. People would take the task, paid or not paid, to gain reward or to gain a wage, it's okay. They would transcribe what somebody was saying to them, and that's how they would keep making manuscripts. So some of the manuscripts have وَلِكُلِّهِمْ مُقَدِّرٌ عَلَى. Muqaddirun means high status. Ala means something that is lofty. So muqaddirun is your status. Muqaddirun ala, high status. So all of the companions, all of the people from the house of the Prophet, maternal or paternal, they have a high status. Does it make a difference if one of them knew more than the other? Does it make a difference if one of them was young and the other was elder? Does it make a difference if one of them were male or female? Does it make a difference if they were from the grandsons or the great-grandsons or the great-great-great-grandsons? وَلِكُلِّهِمْ مُقَدِّرٌ عَلَى وَفَضَائِلُ. They have great status, lofty status, and virtues. All of them. In another transcription, وَلِكُلِّهِمْ قَدْرٌ سَاطِحٌ وَلِكُلِّهِمْ قَدْرٌ سَاطِعٌ. And all of them have a clear, high level, وَفَضْلٌ, and a rank and status that is clearly made clear in the Book of Allah. So one transcription mentions all of them have a lofty status and great virtue, and then another transcription says until all of them is a high status and many virtues. The meaning is the same. The meaning is the same. وَلِكُلِّهِمْ مَقَدِّرٌ عَلَى وَفَضَائِلُ لَكِنَّمَا صَدِّيقُ مِنْهُمْ أَفْضَلُ لَكِنَّمَا مِنْهُمْ صَدِّيقُ أَفْضَلُ. But from amongst all of them, and this is not to downgrade anybody or to make anybody less, as we just mentioned the previous line of poetry, all of them have their rank and all of them have their virtue. All of them have a high lofty status and all of them have their different good points and values. But out of all of them, وَلَكِنَّ مِنْهُمَ الصِّدِّيقُ أَفْضَلُ. But Abu Bakr Siddiq, it is agreed upon by Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, he is the best from amongst the companions. And the Prophet ﷺ mentioned many ways this. He said, had I chosen a friend for myself, it would have been Abu Bakr Siddiq. He said, but rather, the brotherhood is better. The brotherhood is better. Now, Tabarak wa Ta'ala mentioned, وَثَانِ فِي الْغَارِ. And the other one, from the two companions, your companion on Muhammad in the cave with you. The Tabarak wa Ta'ala said to the Prophet to tell Abu Bakr, لَا تَحْزَنْ إِنَّ اللَّهَ مَعَنَا. Don't worry about them looking and seeing your feet. Allah is with us. Allah mentioned this about Abu Bakr Siddiq, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. The one when everyone tried to compete, no one can outdo Abu Bakr. As Rasulullah said on one particular day, who visited the sick today? Abu Bakr said, I did. He said, who went and gave something to the poor? He said, I did. He said, Allah, what else? Who's fasting today? He said, I am. There's something else he asked. Allah nasitu shay. Who is giving charity today? He said, I did. Who is fasting today? He said, I did. Who visited the sick today? I did. Then there was something else he asked him. And all of them, Abu Bakr, he did. And everybody just like, subhanAllah, this guy's too much. Abu Bakr Siddiq was a thin man.
Is it an orphan?
Wallah, I forget what the other thing is, but no one can outdo Abu Bakr. Wallahi. Even when the people grabbed the Prophet in Mecca and want to harm him, Abu Bakr was a thin man with glasses, very, light skinned. But he didn't let that stop him. He didn't have to lift weights and be diesel. No. He would grab them, say, leave him alone. Push them off the Prophet, he'd be ready to scrap, fight. And he was the only one that when the Arabs came and said, your messenger said, and it's in the hadith, they laughed. It's narrated. So I'm not saying that he laughed like this, I'm just being dramatic. Somebody said, well, how you know he laughed like that? It's your prophet said he left from Mecca to Jerusalem, to the heavens and back down, and to Mecca all in one night. What did Abu Bakr say? Well, I'm not sure. I got to go hear from him. That do sound extreme. He said, if Muhammad said it, if Muhammad Abdullah said it, guess what? It's true. Hands down. Subhanallah. Now, ولكن منهم الصديق ماذا أفضل. But from amongst all of them, the companions of the Messenger, as well as those from Ahlul Bayt al-Nabuwah, from his family, maternal and paternal, Abu Bakr is the best. This is where we'll stop, inshaAllah ta'ala, with the poetry of Lamiyah, Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah, Aqidatu Ahlul Sunnati wal Jama'ah, the belief of the people of the Sunnah and Jama'ah. And inshaAllah ta'ala, we'll take a break after Maghrib, which will be about 8:30, 8:35. We'll pick up with what he says about his belief in the Quran, the second part of the poetry. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على رسول الكريم وعلى آله وأصحابه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. See any questions on the? I don't know if they got. We can see the questions. No, you probably need to be on the website.
I'm on the website.
Oh, any people typing? Any questions for the people on the speaker?
No, I don't. I'm looking at it now, but I don't see any questions up there. It said, if a soul has no messages yet.
Alhamdulillah. Tayyib, inshallah, barakallahu feekum. What time we come over here?
About 8. We're right about 7 something, 7, 8. We're right about 8 o'clock.
We pray about 8 o'clock. We should be back on the air, inshallah, tabaraku wa ta'ala, about 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. Wa barakallahu feekum. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Tabaraku wa ta'ala. If there's any mistakes, forgive me. Anything I said right, word is from Allah. And thank you, inshallah, tabaraku wa ta'ala, for your participation. Alhamdulillah rabbil alameen.
Stop it.